Hello guys. I have just woken up and yeah, I will show you your favorite clip from Subway Surfers again. You really enjoyed it in the comments last time. Yeah, but my voice is a little like raspy because I have just woken up, as I said, like 15 minutes ago, maybe like 30 minutes ago. That doesn't really matter. But yeah, just know that. So yeah, my speech will probably not be the best. But I will be talking about something quick a little bit. This will be a short episode of the scaling guide probably, and actually most of it will be addressing the concerns of people in the comments and people outside of the comments that I've got, like criticism about my video or criticism that I've heard about my video. I will be addressing that for the most part of the video actually, and I have made it intentionally long, the first video, so this can be like quite shorter in terms of qualitative value, but also you guys can hear something new, something that I should have added in the previous video and I just forgot. Okay, so a lot of people thought that I take my previous scaling guide as me thinking that objectivity in scaling is easily achievable. This is not the case. I will explain why. I don't think that you can achieve objective scaling at all. I just think scaling is objective, but I don't think we can achieve that objective standard which we strive for. But we can get closer to it by all means, and that is what I'm trying to do. Okay, that is what I'm trying to do. Uh, so we can't really reach that objective standard because we have our biases, cognitive biases, like a confirmation bias. We already have an opinion, so we are intaking or making more sense of the information already available to us that confirms our hypothesis. Okay, so when we scale character A above character B, it is way harder, even if it's true, to convince us that character B scales above character A. This is just how confirmation bias works. You cannot really strip yourself of the bias. There's always like an underlying pattern of the bias that is lurking in your subconscious. Okay, and also there's the problem of limits of knowledge, right? Uh, Even if we all skill the same, which I don't think is theoretically or practically possible, then we would still have different opinions and takes because we will just be limited by our knowledge. We are not omniscient. We cannot know everything about all characters, so we are limited by our own knowledge. Okay, and this is what is really important. And a lot of people took this idea of me saying that scaling is objective as the primary function of my previous video, which is not the case. I just added as a sub point. And a lot of people, especially from the code community, seem to focus on that or like completely neglect everything I said in the video and just focus on the fact that I said scaling is objective. Guys, from the code side, I will be talking specifically to you here. I know you are so against the idea of having no scaling systems at all and this all being bound by just logic. I know you are completely against the idea because you think that there's some kind of utility in scaling systems. I encourage discussions, okay? If any of you disagree or have some concerns, you can always reach out to me in DMs on Discord. We can talk about it, we can discuss it. We can discuss it privately. I will not mention you anywhere or even in this video if you so feel like it, okay? I just want these things to be finally cleared from the surface of SCD and for them to be gone. Because I don't think there's genuinely any kind of utility in scaling systems at all. Okay, it feels like you just nitpicked this part of me saying scaling is objective and ignored everything I said in the video and just say this all over again and say this is why you think my first scaling guide was bad. Okay, that's kind of a weird thing to say. Okay, uh, and I also want to address one more thing that I said in the video, but I think is quite inaccurate. I said that when I refer to scaling systems being usable as a kind of metric when tiering, for example, animalistic, average human genius, super genius, you probably remember, right? Then I really what I meant by scaling systems is I meant tiering systems. Okay, you can get to the different tiering systems by different methods, but that's not really scaling per se. I discussed with this idea with Baked Potato. Baked Potato was actually the first person who ever started criticizing the idea of scaling systems, so props to him. I was probably one of the first as well, but yeah, props to Baked Potato, goated guy. And yeah, and I've had a talk with him after he watched my video and he said that. And I honestly agree. I think I should have been more precise. I think what I really meant by scaling systems there is steering systems. Right. And now I would like to close off this. Oh yeah, and one more thing I wanted to mention actually is the new Sajay video, right? That dropped the scaling guide, part 2. I actually encourage everybody to go and watch the video. I think it's a great video. I watched it personally. I've actually worked a little bit on it with Sajay. I just confirmed some of his thoughts, before the video was even published. So I took place in the video a little bit, and I could say that the video is really good. I basically agree with everything that was said in the video, but here's the thing, okay? If you really want to become good in this SCD thing, I think you should watch the scaling guides or how to do SCD from multiple perspectives. You cannot limit yourself to one perspective, so I would still encourage people, even if my, for example, speech is not as eloquent as Sajay's, or if I'm not as consistent as Sajay, I still think that I will have some very valuable insights to share with you regarding scaling. So if you really want to become one of the best, I really want you to watch both of the scaling guides, because I don't even think it's possible that me and Sajay completely agree with everything we say. Okay, we have a really similar philosophy of scaling, but yeah, that doesn't really mean that we will agree with everything. Okay, so yeah, I definitely encourage you to see both of these how to do SCD guides, basically. Okay, we are 7 minutes in already, and these are just concerns from my previous video. So let me just address one more point, and this is I have 2 more guides planned, and what they will be. One of them will be today's video, and it will be street epistemology. It is not controversial. I think many people will disagree, and I will honestly be quite surprised if somebody would disagree with me. I think most of the people would agree, okay? And the second one will be process versus results. And I think that will be more controversial as a topic again, just like the first video, but I will leave it for the third part. And I firstly wanted to address these core issues of SCD before I delve into the categories and make in-depth research on them. So if there's something that you think that is within the core of SCD and wants to be or needs to be addressed, then you should say so in the comments, and I will definitely consider if I think that it is useful to address that issue. Okay. So yeah, if you have any recommendations, even on what episodes do you want me guys to make, then I will follow you, because I think this is your scaling guide, not mine. I'm giving you guys information, and I think that you should also guys decide what information you want me to say and take. Okay, so any ideas in the comments, I will be more than happy to receive any of them. Okay. So yeah, and yeah, let me just hop into the topic right now already. Street epistemology then. Street epistemology is something that concerns philosophy, okay? But it concerns your daily talk. It's just philosophical terminology, okay? So then don't let this subside for you and say that this is a philosophical issue. No, this is an issue for everybody in SCD and in all communities, not just ours. And I kind of have the pride to say that we in SCD, compared to, for example, power scalers, philosophy debaters, we have this the best. Okay, we are the best in street epistemology. Street epistemology is basically like an approach to debating or discussing. Okay, they give an analogy, which is why it's called street epistemology. Okay, you walk to a person down the street, and you are trying to justify your belief. You are trying to get them to know your opinion, and for them to be convinced of your opinion. What's the best solution to do this? What is the best solution to convince them of the opinion that you are right? Well, you are definitely not going to be disrespectful to them, right? You are definitely not going to be mean, taking advantage of them, be intellectually dishonest, because everything about these things, they will notice it, and they will not like your opinion then, okay? Street epistemology is basically like saying that you walk up to a person on the street and you try to be as respectful as them, as respectful as possible, as honest as possible. You are willing to accept your mistakes in a debate. You are willing to even concede to some points if they make sense. You cannot brute force your point even if you know internally that you're wrong. It's basically basic human accountability. Okay, and basic human decency and respect. This is what street epistemology encompasses. And I think we should really shape our methods of scaling, debating by this very method. I think it's very useful for just generally keeping the community healthy, making the community better and more accessible to new people, devoid of any toxic people, okay? I have the image of being labeled as a toxic person, okay? But let me say two things about that. How can you not be toxic or slightly like more offensive towards a person who says, for example, that A skills above B for sure, like totally. There's absolutely no mistaking that that's the case. Obviously, I'm gonna ask them to justify why, and if they think it's just their belief, then why are they saying that it is 100%? That there is no margin of error. Okay, that is why I'm toxic to some certain people because they don't make any sense. Okay, they are not trying to. They are not trying to their best to be intellectually honest. They are not trying to their best to be the best in SCD. Okay, in debating and scaling, they are not trying to get better. They are just here to they are just here to shit on certain characters that they don't like. Okay, that's all they are here for, which is why I'm toxic to them. Okay, if somebody said, okay, why do you think that A scales above B? Because I really think that B scales above A. I will be respectful to them completely. I will not make a single prickly joke, okay, to on their account, on their behalf, because I can recognize that they are really trying their best to understand what is up with my take, what is the way that I scale, what is the way that I measure things, and why do I generally have certain characters above certain characters. Okay, I will be respectful to them. I will even be willing to teach them a thing or two, for example. But a lot of people in this community don't operate this way. But you know what's funny here is that I think everybody here who watches this video would agree with me that that is how we should approach things by street epistemology measures. Okay, we should be respectful, and we should not engage with some kind of misleading behavior like we can often see in low tier power scaling or philosophy even, right? There are certain rats in the philosophy community, but let's not get into that. Okay, what I really want you to address is that this is how I think we should scale. Well, not scale. This is how we should approach our methods of behavior in SCD. That is how we should behave, and I think everybody can mutually agree with that. And but the funny thing is, right? Even if we can all mutually agree with that, I think most of the people will still be toxic in this community, and this is not directed towards any particular community. Okay, and I would specifically like like to make this example. For example, the codes and the definite community. You know, I'm very familiar that they have their disagreements. I'm very familiar they have their problems, but I think it got a little better, or maybe even a lot of better than it was before in this community. And I think that generally the definite community and code community are in a better place right now. than they were, for example, half a year ago. I think they are getting along more than usual with each other, which is pretty good. I think it contributes to the well-being of the community, and this is all because they started being more respectful and more open-minded about their takes. They are more respectful discussing generally. Of course, there are some exceptions. There are like people that will probably never face eye to eye, but generally speaking, if we take into account the community as a whole, it got a lot better. And because of this, actually, SCD got a lot better. And so we can even make observational evidence of this and conclude that really street epistemology is the way to go. Plus, you will not even be discouraged to research more when we really approach this topic of street epistemology and adopt it to our own. Because I think that when you, for example, if you are new to SCD, you don't know anything, you come up with a take, and then some better guy who was in the community for 2 years says, okay, your opinion is shit, okay, go kill yourself. Okay, for example. That's the kind of behavior. I don't think that's really good for the community and in general for ethical purposes, okay? But I'm not here talking about the ethical purposes. I'm talking about why it's not good for the community, and that is why that this is a new person in the SCD community. He might not understand SCD, but he is really intrigued by the concept. And if it were not for you saying that he should quit SCD and whatnot, and that his opinion is shit, maybe he might have put more effort if you gave constructive criticism as to why his take is bad, and maybe, just maybe, he would be more willing to scale SCD appropriately by the standards that we use. Maybe, just maybe, he will become one of the best scalers and best debaters in the community, which contributes to the community as a whole. Okay, so it's kinda intuitive, right? But I still need to address this because a lot of people, a lot of people just are toxic in the community, and there are just issues springing from the toxicity in the community. Of course, I do not abandon the concept of being toxic. Okay, I think if a person is clearly a troll or clearly toxic, then you have the right to be toxic back. Okay, I'm not abandoning the concept of toxicity back. But I think we should just reflect more on how we behave in SCD and try to be more ethically just and really think for the future of SCD. And I think this is where I will conclude this video. Next video will be on process versus results, and that's the last video I have planned next week before I delve into the categories themselves. But once again, if you have any ideas or any issues you would like me to address that you think are within the core of SCD that are problematic, and I think think as well that they are really problematic, then I will address them. I will make a separate video before I go into the categories. Just ask in the comments or just say in the comments. Okay, it's that simple. And with that, see ya and take care. See you next Friday.